Yes, I've got to go. I've got drinks with Kate. It's very exciting. I've got 2 wines to taste, so I better get going. All right. See you later. Bye. Hey everyone. How you going? Oh my goodness. Shell. Craig, hi. You got your party clothes on? Um, you know how I said this was, oh God, what's going on with my hair? Oh, what a night. It's probably better if I couldn't see myself and I could see you guys. Hi everyone, lovely to see you for our final official Drinks with Kate for the year. That's a bit sad, isn't it? A bit exciting, a bit sad. Dad's got his guitar out. He might play us a little tune later on. No, I was going to say if anyone's around next week and you want to have like a gin and tonic or a glass of champagne together next week, then we can do that. But let's see how tonight goes. Craig, good to see you. Shell, that sounds delicious. Hello, Penny. Hello, Cutty and John. Alison, Emily and Kevin, great to see you. Poor old Jeff has been racing home. He said he was going to try and log in on his phone in the car. So I just told him not to have a car accident because that would be awful. Alison, Andrew. Oh, Andrew, sorry. Good to see you. Wow, how did that happen? It's December already. That's crazy talk. And it's still not very warm down here on the peninsula. At least the sun's out today, but I'm a bit underdressed, but I felt like wearing my little party top because we are having a party. Hi, Angela. Angela and Simon, I believe the parents and parents-in-law are not coming today. Kay, hi. That's okay. You're allowed to drink whatever you like. I can't see you anyway. So, Kay, that's fine. If you hadn't told me, I would never have known. But anyway, welcome. It's lovely to see you. And Daryl and Sue, good to see you too as well. Oh, I've got a text. Who did I get a text from? With the picture. Oh, yum. Chicken train and cashews, green peppercorn and chicken sausages. Sounds delicious in the courtyard, you guys. Karen, that sounds ace. Paul and Sam and the girls, how you doing? Matt and Renee, great to see you. And Deb, lovely to see you. Well, it's exciting, isn't it? It feels a bit Christmassy. It feels a little bit like we're all kind of getting together for our little online Christmas party. And maybe sometime next year we'll be able to get together for a real life party, a little drinks party. I actually went... on the weekend, I went to Anglesey with some friends. We've been doing yoga all year together online, and I joined the yoga class. I'd never met the yoga teacher offline in real life. I met her for the first time on the weekend. We did a little yoga retreat. It was so nice. It was really lovely meeting all these people that I've been spending all this quality time with this year and kind of knew but had never met. And you guys are a little bit like that, although I've met most of you on your doorstep at least with a box of wine in hand. But it'd be nice to catch up for a drink. Oh, and I was telling you about my bling. I finally picked it up. Isn't it lovely? It's a little citrine. This is my instead of holidays in 2020, I bought myself a ring. So there you go. Made and designed by the lovely Lynn Pilkington of Pilkington Jewellers in Little Collins Street in Melbourne. There's a little ad for Lynn. If you're watching, Lynn, hi. Thank you for the weekend and thank you for the beautiful ring. It's gorgeous. Right, Sarah and Georgie, how you going? Good to see you. Now, and we've had a few people coming through saying that they've been enjoying the tastings and they've got their young adult children involved in the tastings as well, which has been really lovely to hear. That I've been feeling sad for everyone during the lockdown, but I think it must be particularly difficult for sort of 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are supposed to be finishing school and going out and having adventures and going to uni and stuff being in lockdown. It's been pretty miserable not getting to see our friends and not getting to do all those cool things that you're supposed to be able to do at that time in life, and it's just lovely to hear from some of you that your young people have been learning about Moorooduc Estate wines and enjoying wine tasting with us as well over the months, because that's, I think it's all about the sharing, and it's all about learning a bit more about wine, and You guys are going to have all sorts of skills when you come out of this that you didn't know that you had. So great to see you all. I should stop talking and we should put some wine in our glasses, shouldn't we? Because we've got 2 wines to taste. It's very exciting. So hang on. Did you like the picture of Jeff holding the bottles with his beautiful Moorooduc Estate cufflinks? I don't know if you saw the detail, but I thought that was pretty cool. So there's the Robinson Chardonnay 2018. Shell sent me a photo. I'll have a look at that in a moment. And that's the McIntyre Chardonnay 2018. And that's Polly in the background, getting comfortable. Hi, Polly. Where are you going? Good girl. She needs a bath. She's filthy. She's been in the dam again. Thanks, Carty. I love the new jewellery too. It's making me feel very beautiful. And apparently citrines are very good for you and healing and stuff. Sorry about the beeping in the background. Jill's doing a bit of cooking and the buzzer went off. She turned it off. She doesn't hear it. It goes for minutes and minutes on end and drives me mad. But anyway, Chardonnay. The girls are loving Polly. Who couldn't love Polly? Hey, Polly's been a bit sick this week, but she's feeling better now. There you go. Having a little sleep. Good girl, Paul. Good girl. This is our last tasting for today. We've been doing a few tastings online today. Corporate tasting this afternoon. It's all right. I spat all the wine out. I only drink wine with you guys. Otherwise, it's a tasting. So, Robinson Vineyard Chardonnay. I'm drinking my Chardonnay in a Pinot glass, but you can drink it in whatever glass you want to because you guys all know the drill now. So I'm going to pour both wines, actually, into my 2 glasses. Doing a bit of juggling. Oh, also, I nearly missed the start of this afternoon because I had my bottles in the fridge in the glass room, and look at this. They are way too cold. You can see all that condensation, freezing cold. So I thought I'm not going to taste anything with that wine. So I ran out to the cellar door, and thanks, Penny. My blue glasses. They're another lockdown purchase. Everything's online these days, even prescription glasses. Who knew? So got these from the cellar door. Cellar temperature about 12 degrees. Perfect. So that's my Robinson. I'm going to put my Robinson wine into the left-hand glass. I always pour from left to right, and I always like to taste Robinson before I taste McIntyre. So the Moorooduc McIntyre. Whoop. Richard and Jill are going to come and join me in the socially distanced table over there. So I'm just getting my wine poured so that when they come in to whisk it away, I won't be missing out on it. So, have you got some nice snacks organised? Is everyone all snacked up? Heard about Shell's. Well, let's have a look at Shell's picture. I'll put it up on something, social media. Oh, yum. That looks beautiful, Shell. Put you up on social media later, if that's okay. So, cheers, everyone. That's a pretty mean pour, isn't it? But I get a good swirl out of it. Cheers. Drink. This is the Robinson Chardonnay. Now, 2018 was a... Alistair. We were right for Rob left. Went right for Rob left. As long as you know which is in which glass, Craig, it doesn't matter. It's just as long as you can keep track of them, it's all good. Oh, Andrew on the socials. Okay, Andrew. I'll try and remember to do that. I'm terrible with that sort of thing. Oysters, yum, Penny. Oysters will be beautiful. And yes, Alison, you guys are special. All right, Robinson Chardonnay. Let's taste. So let's taste. Then I'll talk. Taste, then talk. So the 2018s we've just released to the Wine Club. Now that reminds me, the Wine Club, I want all of you guys who are regulars to be in the Wine Club. I extended an invitation to you to the Wine Club last week and said we'd get you on. Of course, we haven't done all of the requisite footwork yet to actually get you onto the Wine Club. So, yes, Reg, That was Reg. Could you hear him? It's the most appalling noise that he makes. So I sent out an invitation to Wine Club members for a couple of tastings this afternoon. If you did not get an email from me about the Wine Club today, I'm going to be compiling everyone's addresses. But if you want to fast track the process, just send Jeff an email to me@moorooducestate.com.au and say, hey, Jeff, can you please put me in the Wine Club because I'm part of Kate's tasting group. He will then put you in. He'll need your name. He'll need your address. He'll need your phone number and your email address. That's all he needs. So if you can send him an email with that stuff, if you didn't get an email from me today about the Wine Club tastings, if you can send them to us this afternoon or tomorrow or whenever, we'll get you onto the Wine Club list and we'll send you that invitation. Hello, Michael. It is potentially the last time for this year. It's not the last time forever. We are definitely coming back next year. I'm a bit worried about, giving you guys a break and giving me a break and then coming back and nobody coming back with me. So, don't let me down. If you don't want me to come back next year, tell me now and we'll finish it all up. But if you would like to come back next year, then we'll definitely do it. I'm just teasing, okay? Shafi and Rod, good to see you. Not a problem. You haven't missed anything. We've just poured the wines. So I've got Robinson in my left glass and I've got the Moorooduc McIntyre Chardonnay in my right glass, but you can put them in whichever glass you like as long as you know which is which. Good, I'm coming back. It's all right, guys. I'm just teasing. I did want to know if you want to give me some feedback as well about when you'd like to restart next year, because I know a lot of people go away for the summer, go away in January. Do we restart halfway through January? Hi, Jeremy, if you're there. Do we restart halfway through January? Or perhaps we could just do a couple of socials and taste a couple of wines together and then get back into the Moorooduc stuff in February. Anyway, a little bit of any feedback that you guys have got would be great. And also, absolutely, I've had some really lovely little messages and emails from people who are like, I've really enjoyed doing the tasting with Kate during lockdown. Life's getting a bit busy. Thursday night at 6 o'clock doesn't really work for me anymore. I'll watch it a bit sometimes afterwards or whatever, but I can't join you live. Really sorry, but maybe when things calm down again next year, please don't ever apologize for it. This is just a thing that we do. And if you can't come and be here live with me, then I love that you come in and watch me some other time, have a drink of wine with me at another time during the week or next year or whatever. So it's been a really interesting experiment and I think we'll keep doing it. So just need to work out how much of a break we need. But at the end of this session, and if anyone has to jump off early, I am proposing that next week we maybe all buy ourselves a bottle of champagne and get together for a little Christmas party. Yes, Craig, they are very delicate and they need time. So that's why I'm talking a lot as we wait for them to open up. They're probably, even at my room temperature, they're a little bit cold. So let's get back to the wines and we'll talk about the future after that. The Robinson and the McIntyre vineyard are quite different vineyards, but they're quite close together. They're about 4 kilometres apart. We've sort of talked about this, but we haven't done the compare and contrast so much. So let me just go through it really quickly. The McIntyre vineyard is here where we are. I'm looking out at it. It's sort of just out there. I would turn the computer around to show you, but that never works because it's too light out there at the moment. You just look like aliens are coming down. But the vineyard's just out there. It's north facing. It's got a gentle slope, so it's really quite exposed to the sunlight. And in a cool year, that means that we get a little bit of extra ripeness than a lot of people. In a warm year, it means we have to be careful to not leave the grapes on the vine for too long because they ripen a bit faster. 2018 was a year that was very generous in quantity. So the fruit set really, really well. And the biggest problem for people in 2018 is that if they didn't keep an eye on their crop levels, then they might not have noticed what a big crop they had on their vineyard, and they mightn't have crop thinned appropriately to be able to get the concentration and depth of flavour that we look for in the sort of quality wine that we're making. So People who missed that maybe made slightly lighter, maybe slightly more dilute wines than in an ideal year. We actually dropped almost half of our crop just before veraison, and veraison is when the grapes start developing serious flavour and sugar. So in red wine, it's really easy to see when veraison happens because the grapes are green pre-veraison, and when they're going into veraison, they start changing colour, so they start going red. Chardonnay is harder to see, but what happens is the berry gets bigger, the skin gets thinner, the berry gets kind of squishier, and it goes from that bright, hard green to a softer green, and then when it's fully ripe, somewhere between a very pale, soft green, gold colour, sometimes a little bit lemony in colour. So 18 was a year that had big crops. If you dropped enough fruit, then you could get, it was a really lovely year for ripening. Everything ripened slowly and elegantly, and we kept really beautiful natural acidity. So the wines at the moment are very tight and very fine. And they will open up and they will change in the glass. The longer you take to drink them, the slower you drink them tonight. And I even recommend that you maybe keep a little bit in each bottle and pop them back in the fridge and taste them again tomorrow and just see how they've evolved, because they do change and evolve a lot. Alison, I love both of the wines for different reasons, but I'm really glad you're loving the Robinson. The Robinson, Kat, that's interesting. You're saying the Robinson's creamier and the McIntyre's sharper. I think so. The way I see these wines, and they are quite similar to start off with, but they do start differentiating as they open up. So let's just have a little big swirl. If you've got a big glass as well, Craig, that helps to open them up quicker. But if not, just keep swirling, keep swirling, keep swirling. And make sure you've got some water and maybe some bread or whatever, but try to sort of hold back on the snacks too much until you've got a handle on the two wines, and then see how they work with the food. For me, the Robinson has a freshness and a brightness, and it does have a creaminess, absolutely, Kati, that I think is really interesting, because often it's just fruit and floral, but this year it does have that lovely sort of creamy, it's almost cream cheesy kind of aromatic to it. This is the Robinson vineyard is a little, it is also north facing, but it kind of swings around a little bit. It's for me, it's a slightly more sheltered vineyard, although Hugh doesn't always agree with me. So if you're watching Hugh, I'm sorry if I'm saying anything wrong, but you can't say anything back because I'm in charge. The soil is slightly different. We've got much sandier soil. Richard, here you go. Have some Robinson Chardonnay. And the Robinson soil is a little more clay. So lots of little differences in the vineyard and the aspect and that kind of thing. The other big difference is that they're different clones of Chardonnay. So the Robinson is the 95 and 96 clone that came from Dijon University. The McIntyre is, we think it's predominantly Davis clones, that we got cuttings from vines around the Mornington Peninsula and also at Best Great Western. We went and spent a weekend up there in about 1982, and Dad took cuttings and we went and had cream teas. And we thought there was a bit of the Penfolds clone in there somewhere, but Dad's pretty sure that most of that didn't survive the early growing period. So we're not really sure what the clones are of Chardonnay that we've got planted originally, but they're not the fancy new Dijon ones is the most important thing. So that will have an effect on the aroma and flavour profile. But both of these vineyards are very well established and they're older vines now. And I think that means that we're getting a depth of quality and an elegance and a restraint with sort of supporting power in the wines that make them really exciting and really interesting. So let's talk about, Alison, I hear absolutely where you're coming from with the description of the McIntyre as being more sophisticated. I always see it as being a bit more savoury and with some different characters. I'll come to that in a minute because I'm still tasting the Robinson. So, and I do think that in many years, the Robinson and the McIntyre have been streets apart in character, whereas in 2018, they're much more similar. And these wines are made in exactly the same way. So there's no difference in the winemaking here. And they were picked at almost the same time. So often we'll pick the Robinson Chardonnay maybe a few days to a week earlier than the McIntyre Chardonnay. But when we looked up the dates in the book, I think there was maybe a day or two between the two. So there's not a lot of difference in all of those things. So the difference in aromas and flavours that you're seeing, as subtle as they are coming from the site rather than what we've done to them once they've come to the winery. Rob, I'm sure you can get the DNA typed on the vines, but we don't care enough to do it. We think the vines are lovely as they are. Shell, that's an interesting question. So also the oak treatment is exactly the same for the wines. So you may see more oak showing itself in the Robinson and less oak showing itself in the McIntyre as they open up, but I would have a different description for that. So let me go through it with the Robinson. Whenever we've had the Robinson Chardonnay, I've talked about this wine being a very pure and linear style of wine. I think it's got a real focus to it, and I think that we see that here with this wine. It's got this beautiful lemon, it's almost a lemon curd kind of aromatic though to it, and a little bit of shortbread. Deb, well, Rob, if you want to come and take some samples and get the DNA typed for us, that would be fine. I'm sure Dad would love that. He's equally nerdy as when it comes to science. So but we just like to see what happens, and we don't get our yeasts. We've never tried to find out what yeast we have to do our ferments either, because we see that they do a good job. So that's the most important thing for us. Little bit of lovely lemon, almost a salted lemon character and a lemon curd character as well. So there's a creaminess. I got a real kind of just a little bit of very delicate shortbread aromatic on the Robinson this afternoon when I first stuck my nose in there, and that's quite unusual because usually for me it's very pure lemon fruit and a little lift of white blossoms and flowers. But I think there's some more of that kind of biscuity, creamy kind of character on the nose here, which is really lovely. On the palate, it's got a freshness and a brightness, and that lemon really zings through. It's like lemon juice, a little bit of lemon rind, a little bit of preserved lemon. It's very lemony on the palate. The honey white floral characters are sort of just peeking through, but that, for me, that wine still, when I talk about it being very, very focused, I mean, particularly when you put it in your mouth, it kind of travels right down the center of your tongue, right from the front all the way back down your throat. It looks like it goes in a straight line, like a really fast racing car. It just has this beautiful clean line. You taste it as it goes past, but it's kind of gone, and it's just so beautiful. And I think absolutely, Penny, I think the Robinson Chardonnay is the one to have with freshly shucked oysters. I think it's a beautiful mix of saltiness, a little bit of creaminess in the oysters, the salty, lemony, creamy character of the wine. Really beautiful combination. So that's the Robinson for me. It's very bright. It's very focused. And then the McIntyre for me often is more savoury. It's often a bit kind of richer and rounder. But in 2018, the last couple of times I've tasted the McIntyre, it's been really tightly furled, like a rosebud. There's lots of things going on in there, but it's just taking a while to open up and show itself. So it's got a very subtle nose, but it's not that lemony character. It's more yellow grapefruit. There's that little bitter tang, grapefruit sort of tangy character on the nose, and then there's this gorgeous honey note, almost sort of butter. You have, Penny. That's very good. Well, we get there. We will get there in the end. I haven't got any food again tonight, so you're doing a lot better than me. There's just a little. Whenever I say this, everyone looks at me as though I'm mad. So please ignore this description now if it doesn't make any sense to you. But for me, the McIntyre Chardonnay has a character that reminds me a little bit of lamb fat or bacon fat or foie gras. It's kind of got this really creamy, savoury deliciousness that's got nothing to do with fruit or spice or anything. It's more that sort of that lovely just really high quality fat that's going to make everything taste better. It's just got that little smell there. Anyway, Jeremy thinks I'm mad whenever I say that, and Jeff kind of looks at me quizzically. But you're right, Craig, the McIntyre is really hard to get a hold of. Karen, lovely to see you. Thanks for joining. Better late than never, absolutely. You know, there's wine to drink, there's conversations to be had. It's all good. Yeah, Deb, I think that's right. And I think that's right, Craig. Keep working on it, keep swirling it, keep swirling it, keep saying it. You get more on the palate than you do on the nose at the moment with the McIntyre. Thank you, David. At least now I've got someone who works with us who understands my descriptions. A little bit of good animal fat is always a good thing. On the palate, you get more of that grapefruit, and the grapefruit's coming up more on the nose as well as I get more air into it. There's also this lovely note that I always get on the McIntyre Chardonnay, and it's got, people say, oh, has it got more oak in it? Because it's got this sandalwoody spice to it. And I don't believe that's the new oak, because whenever we look at the barrels, the best barrels of old oak, so no oak flavour in the wine, have that little sandalwoody lift. It's a really specific character from that vineyard, and that vineyard that was planted in 1983. So the vines are now, come on, 83, 93, 37 years old. Thank you, Richard. So nearly 40-year-old vines. It's too late for me to try and do maths. It's never been one of my fortes. But it's nearly 40-year-old vines, and I think that that's part of the secret. And I don't know why, but older vines always are believed to offer higher quality fruit. And I think it's maybe the vines are kind of, you know, it's like older people are better than young people. I know that's, sorry, David. But no, they reach a maturity and they reach a complexity, and they pass that on to the grapes. And it's partly because their root system is much better established than it was when they were young. It's partly probably because they, you know, if they've got this far, they've probably got sort of some nice balance in life. If they're being looked after properly by the people who planted them and look after them, then, you know, they're probably rewarding the patience of time. Amanda, I agree. I think the McIntyre is really dreamy. It's a little bit hard. It's a bit hard to kind of describe. It's a little bit hard to grasp, but it's got this kind of otherness to it that makes it. It's whenever I talk about the McIntyre and the 18 particularly, it's got this really interesting combination of opposites. So it's really delicate, but you can sense a real power underneath it. So there's a delicacy and there's a power. There's an elegance, but there's a voluptuousness in the wine, and it's got lots and lots going on. Penny, it is, you know, this wine, of all of the wines that we make, this McIntyre Chardonnay is the you know, it's the first example of Richard and Jill planting vines and making wine, and it's the result of that. You know, it's a result of 38 years worth of hard work and blood, sweat and tears, and it's one of the reasons that I'm so emotionally attached to this wine, I think. But I think it's also delicious. The buttery taste, Angela, is partly a Chardonnay thing, but it's also so our Chardonnays all go through a natural malolactic fermentation, and it's not actually, fermentation usually means the conversion of sugar to alcohol. So the malolactic conversion is actually an acid conversion, and the malo bug is a little I'm not going to describe that because I've got scientists online and I'll get it wrong. It's not a yeast though. It's a bacteria. So what this bacteria does is it changes malic acid that is naturally occurring in grape juice and wine, and it's also the acid that you find in green apples. So it's very tart and very crisp, and it converts that acid into lactic acid, which is the acid that you find in milk and in cream and in butter. And so one of the results of allowing Chardonnay to go through a malolactic fermentation is that you get a slightly buttery character in the wine. And it's one of the reasons that people went off Chardonnay in the late 80s, early 90s, when they'd had too many of those wines that had had really high malic acid in them, and they were grown in a warm climate. So they also tasted like pineapple juice, and they'd been fermented in new oak. So they also tasted like vanilla and oak. And then the winemakers said, well, that's not enough complexing of the flavors, so we'll put them through it, because they usually put them through a malolactic fermentation, whereas our wines, we don't inoculate them for malo, we just give them the opportunity to go through if they want to. And both of these wines wanted to, so they're 100% converted. Yes. And so when people put these big fat pineapple-y oaky wines through a malolactic fermentation, they had lots of malic acid that was keeping the wine kind of crisp and tart, and it got converted into this softer, creamier, buttery type of acid that then changed the balance of the wine, and the wines kind of got fat and buttery, and the worst ones tasted like rancid butter because of the strain of bacteria that they used for the conversion. Anyway, it all turned into a nasty mess, and everyone went off Chardonnay for a while. Now we're back on Chardonnay again. We understand it better. We understand where to grow it better. We understand when to pick it. And that's one of the things that we're finding with these two wines. We think that we pick these at the perfect time, so they're not underripe and they're not overripe, which means they're really, as we've been saying over and over again, they're really tightly wound at the moment. They're quite fine. They're a bit hard to sort of unfurl and get into at the moment. These wines, and also you guys have been spoiled all year by looking at all these beautiful older wines that we've aged for you. So we've set you up to find these wines possibly a little bit more difficult after tasting versions of them that had had 5, 6, 10 years in the cellar. And that's all part of this tasting group, so isn't that cool? But yeah, they're tight and fine. So, but they're opening up, and that sounds delicious. Shell, Egyptian dukkha. What's an Egyptian dukkha? I presume some sesame seeds and some spices and things. But yeah, dukkha is good for the floral notes of these wines. And if you come back to the Robinson again, it's got this little bit of apricot there as well, which is really interesting. Amanda, I'm glad you're seeing that fatty character. It's not, yeah, it's really good fat. You know, when you get a really good piece of meat that's got really good fat, and you just, I never cut the fat off the meat if it's really good. It's the best bit. It's particularly, anyway, enough of that. There's a little bit of that in that wine. If you go back to the Robinson, a little bit of spice, but not nearly as much spice as we see in the McIntyre. It's more, there's a little bit more yellow apple there in the Robinson, even though that's been through a full malolactic fermentation as far as we know. And again, Rob, we don't actually do the full analysis on it, but we're pretty sure that's gone all the way through. And the way that we allow them to do that is that we just leave the wine in barrel for 8 months and we let it do its thing. It's really good fat. Yeah. Everything in life is about really good fat. It's what you learn when you fall in love with food and wine. Thank you, Penny. That's really sweet. And they're starting to differentiate more. Is it making, Craig, are you finding where you are that they're differentiating a bit more? The Robinson's going more down that lemon citrus route, and the McIntyre's kind of warming up and opening up, and you're getting more of those sort of, there's definitely that perfumed grapefruit, but more of the sandalwood, more other spices, both of the wines have a little bit of saltiness, but I get on the back of the palate, the McIntyre has a more intense saltiness to me than the Robinson, but because it's kind of a richer, more, it's got more layers to kind of work through, then the salt gets hidden a little bit more. It is very shy, absolutely. One of my tricks that I'm not sure whether I've actually shared with you guys, sorry, just spitting wine all over the computer, just ignore me. One of my tricks when I'm tasting wine that is as young and as tight as these wines to get the most out of them. Thank you, Jeff. Hello, you made it. Woo! One of my tricks is when you stick your nose in the top of the glass, it's human nature to close your mouth, because we've all been taught, we've all been brought up to try and close our mouths when we're, not talking. We don't chew with our mouth open. We don't, you close your mouth when you're not talking. So we sort of put our nose in and close our mouths to try and look a little bit more serious. But actually the trick is to open your mouth a little bit and smell, because that allows a little wind tunnel to happen from your nose, and the aromas actually then can go all the way back into your retronasal cavity, into the back of your tongue, and you can smell everything back here, which is really cool. Jeff, did you have to do a delivery, or are you just visiting Karen and the dogs? Good to see you. And I'm glad you like my picture. So close your mouth and smell, and then open your mouth and smell, and it makes a really big difference. You don't look quite as sexy with your mouth open when you're smelling, but, might have been Jeff, might have been Peter, Karen. My brother Peter did deliveries yesterday. So that might have been him. We've enlisted him because we've got so busy since we reopened, and doing deliveries and running tastings live and online and all sorts of things. Pete's pretty good. I'll check that he's all right, but he's pretty good with dogs. So he would have taken it all in his stride. Probably had them all sitting and rolling over for him by the time he was finished. Right, what have I missed? Yeah. So, isn't that cool, Amanda? Mouth closed smelling, mouth open smelling, completely different. Open your mouth when you're smelling, you'll get a lot more out of the smell of the wine, and people who know will know that you're an expert and that you've got all the skills. Someone said right at the beginning that the Robinson was starting to look oakier and the McIntyre was looking less oaky. I see what you mean. I think that's actually a richness of fruit in the Robinson that's coming through, and it's kind of rounding out. Jeremy's also mentioned on text. Hi, Jeremy. And I agree with him that the phenolics in the McIntyre are really starting to open up. Now, when we talk about phenolics, some of you probably know exactly what I mean, and some of you are like, what? It's about the feel, the mouth feel of the wine, the structure of the wine and how it feels in your mouth. So phenolics for white wine are very similar to what we call tannins in red wine. And there's a little, I know, you guys are learning so many little tips. That's the whole point of this. You'll never smell the same again. But it's not just on the nose, so it smells different, and then you put it on your palate. And we've talked about the acid. There's this lovely, mouth-watering acid. It makes your mouth water once the wine has left your mouth. But there's also these really fine textural characteristics that kind of caress the sides of your mouth and the sides of your tongue and across your tongue and the roof of your mouth with the McIntyre that make it a really kind of a whole mouth experience. That'll probably also be hopefully a quotable quote. But it's a wine that really doesn't let you ignore it with any of your senses. And when it's in your mouth, it keeps changing. It keeps evolving. Robinson now, McIntyre later? Sure. I think both of these wines, if you were buying these wines and putting them in a cellar, I would say my preference would be to cellar both of these wines for 6 to 8 years. I know that sounds like a long time, and it absolutely isn't a rule. It isn't obligatory, but when these wines have had that sort of time in cellar, then they really start to express themselves and really kind of take on their own personalities. I think, yes, that the Robinson is going to give you probably more immediate pleasure than the McIntyre, because it's showing its hand a little bit more right now. It's opening up. It's got more of that lemon. It's kind of lemon on lemon on lemon. It's got that bit of creaminess. It's got that bit of biscuitiness. and it'll be a beautiful summer wine. It's the sort of wine that you can drink with oysters, fish and chips, a really good, good chicken, all that kind of thing. But the McIntyre, when you put it with food as well, will really come out of its shell. And the McIntyre really likes slightly richer characters. Mum makes this amazing bouillabaisse that has white fish and mussels and prawns and a slightly spicy tomato-based soup. It's got fish stock in it as well, and then some garlicky aioli on top. So that's a lot of flavours for a Chardonnay to cope with, and the McIntyre copes with that really, really well. Amanda, excellent. You do need some in your cellar because these wines really reward people who put them in their cellar. They're lovely to drink now, but they've got this kind of latent potential that you need to give them time to sort of work through their slightly awkward teenage years and become the best wines that they possibly can be. And they've always got a little bit more to share. But the McIntyre Chardonnay as well, I've got to say, is absolutely kick-ass with, if you get the best free-range chicken you can get and just give that chicken all the love to make it into the best roast chicken in the world. Maybe a few crunchy potatoes, maybe a little, few carrots, whatever you feel like on the side, and then have that with that wine, the McIntyre Chardonnay. Even now, it will absolutely sing. Give it a little bit of fat and a bit of protein and a bit of starch, and it does really come out of its shell, even as a young wine. But yeah, drink them young, drink them old, drink them up. Enjoy them. They really are wines that I think speak very eloquently of where they come from. It's one of the things that we're very passionate about here, as you know. We're very excited about. Michael, that's an interesting question about Parker. No, I don't like. Sure, he's very good at judging the sort of wines that he likes, but I don't really. I don't think he will ever comment on our wines because he doesn't really like Chardonnay or Pinot Noir, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't really rate Australian Chardonnay or Pinot Noir. He rates really ripe Australian Shiraz. That's okay. We get some nice reviews from people who like our wine, and we don't. The most. For me, it's everyone's a different review, and I think it's much more important for me to be getting these wines into the glass for you guys to taste and for you guys to decide whether you like them, rather than trying to get Robert Parker to taste the wine. Sure, if he tastes it, that's great. But in fact, Parker online, he doesn't taste Australian wine anymore. He's got someone else to do that now. So there's very little chance that he's ever going to taste our wine, and that's okay. That doesn't bother me. Because there's enough people whose palates I rate who taste our wine and say good things about it. Angela, that sounds amazing. Apollo Bay Youth Hostel. Oh my God. Otway hike. Good luck. I hope you've got a good raincoat, and I hope you don't get blown away. So be careful out there. Watch out for tree branches, okay? And yeah. So yeah, I think, and actually, Michael, if Robert Parker did write nice things about Moorooduc Estate and give us 100 out of 100, then we say thank you very much, and we wouldn't put the price up by 100% like a lot of people do. We might put it up a little bit, but I think it's horses for courses. So yeah, fish and chips, absolutely, Angela. These wines will be awesome with fish and chips, and I think that will definitely give you the strength to walk through torrential rain and 50-kilometre winds. Sounds ace. You guys will be superheroes at the end of it. And I tell you what, that hot shower afterwards will be great. Yes, Karen, that's a good point. But we do actually export a little bit of wine to America, and we've had some people taste it, but Americans don't yet fully understand that Australia's doing exciting things. There's a handful of Americans. There's a lovely wine writer and travel writer called Lauren Mowry who has been down here, and she thinks the wines are pretty awesome. Sharpie and Rod, I will be around potentially on Sunday after 1 o'clock, and just briefly, I've actually got a lunch date. Maybe later in the afternoon. Anyway, I don't know, what time are you guys coming by? But yeah, no, I've got a lunch date already on Sunday. So I believe you guys are catching up with Anne, and she contacted me and invited me to come and join you. And unfortunately, I can't because I'd already committed to someone else, which is very sad. It would have been very fun to get. No, sorry. But Jeff will be here, and possibly David as well. So you'll get the A team anyway, and we'll catch up very soon. That would be really lovely. Kevin, I like Americans as well, and there are a lot of Americans who like our wine. So there you go. It's been we have beautiful supporters in all the parts of America that we sell the wine. So got no problems with that. So thank you. Sorry, I'm missing all the comments. Kate, thank you. I know you rate it highly. Good girl. And Penny, yeah. Look, I think. Thank you. We do like our Shiraz. We do our little 130 cases of Shiraz a year, but that's it. Shell, my pleasure. Do you know what? And now, I promise I'm not going to get weepy or anything like that, but I've got to say that I'm really glad to hear that I've cheered you guys up this year, because you've all cheered me up absolutely enormously during this very strange year. It's been weird, and I know, well, I'm not sure if you understand how much I've looked forward to coming and chatting to you and just having the opportunity to be self-indulgent for a little while and talk about wines that I love, and to get to know you through the chat. It's been really weird, and people go, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, actually it's quite nice. And I kind of feel like we've done really cool things this year. So hopefully next year we will be able to reinvent this again and have some more fun again next year. That's really lovely. Thank you, Michael. That's very sweet. And Samantha and Sharpie and Rod and Kati and Karen. Jeff, I know it's not the end. It's not the end. I'm going to send you guys an email on Monday. And what I thought we could do, probably a lot of you have got things on, because I know that it's only a few weeks out from Christmas and my diary is starting to look a little bit mental as well. But what I was going to suggest, that for some of you who don't have anything pressing to do next Thursday, we're not going to do a Moorooduc Estate wine, but I thought we could have a little end of year party, little Christmas party. We can dress up, we can bring a bottle of champagne, we can have a glass of champagne, or whatever you feel like bringing. You can tell me what you're drinking, you can tell me what you're eating. I'll bring something special as well to have a little toast. We might see if we can maybe get Richard to come and have a little glass of wine with us, maybe even Jill, who knows? She's pretty elusive, but you never know. No, we're not playing the guitar tonight, Sue and Daryl. Maybe next week. So if you can join us next week, that would be lovely. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. Keep an eye on the emails. We'll get started again relatively early next year. If you haven't got an email about a wine club tasting that we're having in a couple of weeks, and some releases of some special, Michael, you're hilarious. Some special releases that we're doing for our wine club members for Christmas. If you didn't get an email today from us, please send Jeff an email, me@moorooducestate.com.au, saying, please put me into the wine club. Kate said I could come in, with your name, address, phone number, and email address. He will get you sorted, and we will send you an invitation to the tasting, and we'll send you the special offer, which will have some back vintages, some magnums that you might like to treat yourself with for Christmas. if you got the email already, then you're already in the wine club, and that's awesome. We're trying to get things organised. Craig, you can put a bottle of our Pinot Gris on the soda stream, and I would like you to get someone to take a video of it because it's quite fun. Red wine in the soda stream is a little bit dangerous, but yes, it's it's very lovely. David Cole, you can't ask me a question like that at 50 minutes into the tasting. What's my pick for reasonably priced sparkling in Australia? Well, you could do Craig's trick of putting white wine in the soda stream, but I don't really recommend it. For me, I reckon one of the, depending on what you want to spend, basic Arras non-vintage is terrific, and I think it's about $30 a bottle, so that's pretty good. There's a few. I'll talk to you about that at Cellador tomorrow. Yes, if you got the offer and you want a Magnum, just send Jeff an email saying, please put my name on a Magnum, and we'll make sure that you get one. The Magnums are super duper. They're a really fun thing to have on Christmas Day. If you celebrate that sort of thing, they're a really fun thing to have at a dinner party anytime. They're a great thing to have in the cellar, because when you're having a party, one bottle of wine is never enough. And Magnums actually age the wine much more slowly, so you can keep it for longer, and it ages more slowly. So they're 2015 Magnums, so they're a bit special. We haven't got very many of them. As I say, if you didn't get the email today, email us. We'll get you on the wine club list. We will send you the email. You'll get all the information. If you can join me next week, Piri is delicious, absolutely. But I would say I love Australian sparkling wine, but if I'm going to have a glass of fizz for Christmas, it's going to be champagne. So yes, absolutely. Don't drink it. Good on you, Amanda. So anyone who brings Krug to the party has to share it with everyone. But apart from that, I look forward to seeing you guys all of you who can come next week. Come to the party, wear a party hat. Polly will have her Father Christmas hat on, and she might even come and say hello properly. In the meantime, have a lovely week. People are driving like lunatics out there on the road at the moment in Victoria. I don't know about other parts of Australia, so please be careful. Drive safely. We don't want any accidents during the Christmas period. So just be safe. Look after yourselves. Have a lovely Christmas. I might see you next week. If I don't, have a fabulous break, and I'll see any of you who don't come back next week. I'll see you in January sometime. Well done, everyone. It's been great. It's been really fun. Hang on. Cheers.